I want to say that I am so proud to be a Louisianian. I love this state with everything in me. And I truly, truly believe everyone in this building does as well. We got a lot of problems. We have a lot of issues. And you've heard them all. We're not where we should be in terms of ranking and status. But together, over the last 3 years, I believe we've made small steps in that regard. Are we anywhere near where we should be? No, we're not. And it is my sincere belief that I hope none of my good and decent colleagues are so delusional that you don't believe we have more work to do. Today, I'm a little disappointed. In fact, I'm a lot disappointed. And I'm somewhat embarrassed, not for me, but for you, my white Republican colleagues. You've heard me say time and time again that I truly believe you all are good and decent people. And when I say that, I say it for you, because if I begin to think otherwise, your engagement with me would be entirely different. If I believe otherwise, that side of Alonzo that is dark and scary won't go very well here. Let me talk to you, because we're family. That's what our speaker has said time and time again. We spend 2 to 3 months with each other more than we do with our family. We're family. Let me help you understand this negative perception of some of you. Some of you meaning my white Republican colleagues, my good and decent friends. This perception that some of you all may be racist, and I don't use that term lightly. I hate when it's used loosely. I hate when it's applied to good and decent people that I know are good and decent people, but let me help you understand why. That may be a prevailing term from some of my constituents, and why nationally you may hear that applied to some of you. Some of you will acknowledge that about 120 so years ago, your grandfather, great-grandfather, when they denied 2 black men to be seated in Congress, some of you will acknowledge that was racist. I've not heard any one of you acknowledge the fact that just a few weeks ago, in my district, you all denied another black man from being seated as clerk of court in my city. For some, that's racism. But you all won't let that touch you. You will acknowledge that it's your grandfather and your great-grandfather, but you won't let it touch you, my good and decent colleague. You all will acknowledge that at a time when it was illegal for my ancestors to learn to read, you will acknowledge that's racism. And your forefathers and mothers were racist. But that's not you. That's in the past. Let's not live in the past. But not so long ago, some of you support and endorse keeping Black history out of school. Some of you support and vote to get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion, but you won't let that touch you as racism. And you can't bring yourself to understand, as my colleague Mandy Landry suggests, to understand someone like me and to appreciate someone like me who will engage with you on such a personal level, who will sit and dine with you on a personal level, who will engage with you on a personal level. You can't bring yourself to understand and appreciate how and why someone like me may deem your action as racist, my good and decent colleague. Speaker Pro Tem said 3 years ago to someone, "You don't know my heart." And that's a true statement if I ever heard it. But I do know your actions, and I do know your vote. So I will submit to you to please consider what that looks like. Please consider how you will explain your vote to your children and your children's children. I remember 3 years ago, the Speaker and the Speaker Pro Tem stood at this well. And both of them had a common theme insofar as they said, if you ever want to know why you're here, if you ever need to be reminded why you're here, look in the eyes of your constituents. When the both of them said that, it triggered me. It resonated and it triggered me. Why? Because eyes hunt me. The eyes of dead Iraqi soldiers hunt me. The eyes of Iraqi soldiers surrendering under my machine gun, they hunt me. The eyes of my soulmate, the eyes of my spiritual leader, the eyes of the woman with whom I have such a connection with, and that is my dear grandmother. The reason why I came back to Louisiana. And as she was transitioning, my wife and I tried to get her out of her comfort zone. Like my wife, my grandmother loves antiques, everything old. So my wife and I decided to take my grandmother on a road trip antiquing. Unbeknownst to her, we went to Denham Springs. It's a well-known antique mall in Denham Springs. Everything was going well, okay. But because we're so spiritually connected, because we're so connected by the universe, even now that she's transitioned, her presence is still with me. At this antique mall in Denham Springs, while we're walking around, we decide to take a break. We go into this little cafe, and in this cafe, in this mall, there was no one there. So my wife and I and my grandmother, we walk into the cafe. Her eyes are wide. Her movement is slow. What's wrong? This is 2005. My grandmother, whom I have this soulful connection with, was so afraid to go into this cafe, and I couldn't understand why. But for some reason, she was triggered. I don't know what educational level my grandmother had. To this day, I still don't know, but she's the wisest person I know. But on that day, she was triggered because the young white lady who worked in the cafe offered us a table to sit to the front. My grandmother, who had never gone to too many places, remembered as a child that you didn't do that and you did not do that in Denham Springs. She remembered the history of what took place in Denham Springs. She remembered that being a place that the KKK was rampant. She remembered that it was there was voter suppression. She remembered. Did not connect with me at the time, but as we took our seat, that's when she began to share that history with me. That's when her eyes began to well. So for some of you, this is just a vote. For some of us, this is our life. For some of us, this is our ancestors' wildest dream. You can listen to a man who's occupying the White House, who has made calls all across the southern region to say, do this. A man who has done nothing but divided this nation, hasn't done anything to unite us. A man that some of you would not allow your child to be with. The votes that you would take today are votes you don't have to take. To fast forward a little bit, about 2 weeks ago, we were over on the Senate side, and you've heard there was hundreds of people of all ages, black, white, Hispanic, young, old, until 4:30 in the morning. I was there with them as well, 4:30 in the morning. Over in the Senate, unbeknownst to Ms. Pat, Representative Moore, we were sitting in the overflow room. Rep. Moore, Rep. Newell, Rep. Boyd, Chairman Miller. And there was a lot of chanting going on in the hall. Rep. Moore came to me in a panic. She had been triggered, unlike I've ever seen her, over a few days. She asked me would I go in the hall with her to check on the people, to check to make sure they're not doing anything to get them in trouble. And the look in her eyes triggered me. I had seen that look before. We went in the hall, and Ms. Pat goes to the Sergeant of Arms. She asked, is it okay? Is it okay for them to do this? Will they get in any trouble? Will they get in any trouble for their First Amendment right? Will they get in any trouble? She asked this white Sergeant of Arms that. He told her, of course not. They're not doing anything wrong. They're exercising their right. I have no problem with that. Spat turns to me. She says, oh, thank God. Thank God they won't get in any trouble. And the crowd started chanting, shut it down. Shut it down, Jim Crow. Shut it down. Confederacy, shut it down. Silencing us, shut it down. Shut it down. And when she turned to me and I saw her eyes, she started getting in the energy. Shut it down, shut it down, shut it down. We ain't going back. I started chanting, shut it down, Jim Crow. Shut it down, racism. Shut it down. Segregation, shut it down. Taking our votes away, shut it down. Disrespecting our ancestors, shut it down. Shut it down. One thing I know, and I have the audacity to believe, I know I'm free. One thing I know, unapologetically, that when I come as one, I stand and represent hundreds. One thing I know for a fact, to the young kids who are our pages, to the people who traveled from all across this state, to my colleagues who have been in the struggle, we're not going back. Bishop Paul Martin said, we've tasted freedom and we ain't going back. Those of us who served in the military for democracy, we're not going back. As a people, as Black people, we are unbroken. 250 plus years, we are still here. 250 years, we persevere. 250 years, we overcome when we weren't even considered full human. We have overcome when it was illegal to teach us to read. Imagine that. Not considered human, not being able to read, and here we are, standing, looking you in your eyes when it was illegal, standing with our backs straight, standing on the sidewalk, looking you in your eyes, daring you, challenging you to try to make us go back. And it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen because we've tasted freedom. It ain't gonna happen because the young people who are here today, they see what's going on. It ain't gonna happen because your children see what's going on.
Representative Knox.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
I would ask that you please try to wrap it up.
Yes.
Thank you.
These tears that you see today, it's years of therapy. It's not a sign of vulnerability, it's a sign of strength. And on that strength, I promise you, with everything in me, we won't be broken. We will stand. We will rise like a phoenix. And this fight that we are built for, the shoulders that we stand on, will continue. I ask for you to have the audacity to vote your conscience and to let your kids know that the eyes of history are on us. And when you look in history in the eyes, you tell them what side you stood on. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Knox.